Hello, everyone. Didn't I tell you that it's not over yet? Of course not. And it won't be over for a while because the powers that be love to keep us in fear, in misery, and they are doing a great job. Today's video has the title Monkey Parade or monkeypox, actually monkeypox or monkey parade. That is the question. Because what is happening now in the news, you probably looked around and you see it, that is another fear mongering going on. If climate change and war and COVID weren't enough, now we have another virus in the news. Luckily, there are only a couple of few cases, maybe 100 cases, and it's not yet horrible, and the cases seem to be mild. No one died yet, but already there are quarantines. Whenever, if you think you got it and you are diagnosed positively, then you need to go to quarantine for 3 weeks. So it's starting again. The whole story is starting again. What do we know about the virus? Well, it was discovered in 1958 somewhere in Africa, and it is a version of the smallpox, or the what we call black. No, actually, we don't call it black death. Whatever, we don't call it black pox. Interestingly enough, but it was, of course, a deadly disease. The monkey version is not. It spread from monkey to monkey, but then all of a sudden it jumped onto a human being, and ever since then it is we can get it. Let's put it this way. It spreads via bodily fluids, which is quite interesting. If you look around in the news, where people got it and how. I'm not going to open this this window of discussion, but go ahead and look, and you will understand that if you are heterosexual and monogamic, then you are not in such a big danger. Let's put it this way. That's the only hint I'm giving you. Anyhow, so it's a lot milder than smallpox. And it has no known medicine, only vaccine. Of course, it's vaccine. It has to be vaccinated. It's a DNA virus, DNA type of virus. So it is not, it doesn't have any variants. It's not going to spread in many variants, just like COVID did, which is not a DNA, but an RNA virus, so it is unable to clone itself. So it means that it has many variants and many types. Anyhow, so it is a mainly stable type of virus. Okay, and what is interesting though is that these outbreaks that are happening today are completely mysterious, because these people didn't go to Africa. They went to certain festivals, okay, and that is where the main cases came from. So you can make an intelligent guess how and why they got it there. Anyhow, the first case was diagnosed in London on May 7th, 2022. And this is just a random chart on that day, sometime in the midday, to show you what's happening. There are two main highlights on that day. And it's important to remember that whenever something occurs in the outside world, sometimes the media picks it up and blows it up completely. Sometimes they are disregarding it. Sometimes they are hushing it or just toning it down. So you actually never know what is really happening, only later on. And this very often happens to your own transits as well. Sometimes when you have your first Saturn transit out of the series of 3 or even 5, nothing actually seems to be occurring. So you're wondering, okay, it's not that bad. Why did my astrologer say that this was going to be really bad? Yeah, because usually as the story develops, it becomes usually worse and worse. And this is exactly what happened. I didn't even notice, although I tried to pay attention to the news, because we had an really exact to the minute Saturn-Vesta conjunction. And I didn't even notice it. So anyhow, the chart that day had a Sun-Uranus conjunction, which it was separating by then. It was exact on the 5th of May. But the Saturn Vesta conjunction became exact on that day to the minute. And Saturn Vesta in karmic astrology means oaths and promises. But it also, if you want to translate the two celestial objects, Vesta, besides being the high priestess, means the focusing principle, tunnel vision, and Saturn is chores and problems and obstacles and hardships. So focusing on hardships, focusing on obstacles, focusing on quarantine. You could also translate it in this way. Anyhow, until now, today is the 24th of May, and I'm going to put this out already, although the chart I'm going to show you later on is going to be on the 25th, because some of you will only see it next day. So something interesting happens because the moon is crossing over Aries. So I think tomorrow is even a bigger day than today. Anyhow, until today, so between May 20, May 24, that is when the cases were picking up. More than 100 cases were detected in various countries. I think there are like 13 countries now by being affected, from Australia to the United States to England to Belgium and whatever. Even Austria had one case yesterday, so we don't have it yet here in Hungary. And these are the chart highlights. So the Sun, Uranus, and the Saturn Vesta conjunctions. And this is what is happening on the centaur / TNO / transcendental objects level. The Sun Uranus conjunction, of course, makes a semi-sextile to Chiron. The Uranus Chiron semi-sextile is one of this year's main karmic astrological feature. It's a tiny aspect, but in karmic astrology, Uranus Chiron aspects denote what we call Atlantean karma. Any aspect there describes various problems, issues, and forms of Atlantean karma, linking you to Atlantis. And we have now this semi-sextile, which is one of the smallest aspects, tiniest aspects, and it really doesn't come out very vehemently like an opposition, but it's still there. And the sun is highlighting it. So this is kind of separate. I just left it here for you to see that, yes, it was exact then. Well, this is the 7th of May. We do have a karmic cage involving the nodal axis and the Saturn Vesta exact conjunction. This is the karmic cage. But you also have two transcendental celestials, two trans-Neptunians on the North Node, which is your karmic your intent, destiny choice for this life. Mos Somnus and Alicanto. Now, those who learn from me, my London group, you may remember that we discussed this when COVID started. We had a seminar, a workshop on COVID early 2021, maybe in January, where we discussed what is happening. And you may remember that Mos Somnus was a participant in that chart. And Mos Somnus is interesting because it's in Roman mythology, it's the two brothers, Death and Sleep, who live in a dark cave where the sun's rays are not reaching at all. In Greek mythology, those are Hypnos and Thanatos, the same idea, that death is like a deep sleep. And if you think about the fact that the early COVID patients had to be intubated, and there was a respiratory gadget by which they were helped to because they couldn't breathe, and they were put into coma. That's something very, very similar. But at the same time, Alicanto, I have a video on Alicanto. You may want to see it. It is an extreme TNO. It has a very inclined, very long orbital period. And Alicanto is the magical bird that eats silver and gold. And of course, it is linked to greed and in many other forms. So that is on the T-square right there. That was actually on the 7th of May. And you also have a cardinal Grand Cross. But again makes it interesting that we had almost the exact same participants way back in the early days of 2021 when COVID started, with the exact same thing. Like we had Logos, Pholus, and Salacia. That was a T-square there. And today, in nowadays, let's put it this way, we have a ground cross because Echeclus, which is a regular centaur, so it has a relatively shorter orbital period, only decades, so it's 80 or 90 years. Echeclus is the centaur who is responsible for thinking processes gone awry, or when you are concentrating on truth and reality, and truth versus reality, what is truth and what is reality, and that's exactly what's happening, because the mainstream press is showing us reality which is not reality. So they are lying through their teeth. They don't give us true information. They are manipulating us. So that is one corner of the T-square, of the ground cross. Salacia, of course, is linked to Atlantean karma. So that's why I left here the Uranus-Chiron semisextile, because Salacia is describing this Atlantean deep fear, which is in Aries. And then you have Pholus and Quaoar in Capricorn, around, again, this is around 7-8 degrees. Pholus, first of all, it describes things that are 4 generations earlier, that occurred 4 generations earlier. But if you look at the glyph, it looks like a bacteriophage. It's actually a virus. So it looks like a virus. And when the COVID outbreak came along in 2021, in the early months of or early weeks of 2021, that was a very important. Actually, it was 2020. Why am I saying 2021? No, it was 2.5 years ago. Sorry. So yeah, because the whole thing started in December 19, and then the whole escalated in 2020, January, February, March. By March, there was a complete lockdown of the bird. And yes, this is what happened. Pholus was around 4 degrees. We had the exact same T-square, Pholus, Logos, and Salacia. And in this, this is a little bit different. So please don't be scared, because this is going to be really not what it seems to be. Because on Logos, which means creation through words, and exactly is what's happening. I mean, they are creating a new word for us, the new thing for us through words. But make is interesting. It's also called makey. And interestingly enough, in Hungarian, maki means monkey. So it has this kind of connotation as well. But makey in karmic astrology denotes our soul particles that flew apart and went away from us. And now we can bring them back through words, through logos, through ideas. And then Quaoar is one of the nicest centaurs or TNOs, because it denotes creation through dance and music and the arts. So actually, this ground cross, which is always kind of better than just the T-square, because there's an even flow of energy. Yes, it is of course disturbing, because you have squares and of course in the inner opposition, but still it denotes the energy pattern that you can resolve. How? By paying attention, by creating through dance and words, by calling back your missing particles, and by thinking processes. Don't believe what you see, don't believe what you hear. Question everything. And now let's take a look at the current energy pattern, the current spread. We started sometime when the cases were picking up. I think it was May 20th, when the sun was crossing from Taurus to Gemini. And by doing that, it was crossing over the Pleiades, the seat of the creator goddess. That happens, of course, every year. But Mercury is at that point, Mercury retrograde. And cases starting to multiply, and by the 24th, which is today, I believe we have like 120 cases in like 13 different countries, and that is what makes it this unique. That is not the usual spread. The cases are still mild. No one died. No one is hospitalized. Truly, they are kept in quarantines, which is different from a real hospitalization where you have to be there because of your symptoms. And the whole thing started while Mars and Vesta was still anaretic in Pisces and Aquarius, respectively. But by today, the 24th, Mars is crossing to its own sign, Aries, and by tomorrow, the 25th, Vesta is crossing over to Pisces. So we have an energy shift there. Vesta is, of course, still the focusing principle, and the semi-sextile allows us to focus on aggression, on what is really happening. The Mars-Jupiter conjunction, which will become stronger and tighter over the next couple of days. Of course, the war may escalate. This Mars is very strong in its own sign. It is also ruling Jupiter, which blows up everything it touches. And by the 25th, in the small hours, the moon is leaving Pisces and entering Aries, and of course, highlighting this conjunction. At that moment, Venus is still conjunct with Aries, drastically altered outward circumstances, war and war-like happenings. And Venus, of course, is money. So this war is about money, believe me. It's not about ideas. It's about how to crush the last true nation state. And again, I hate war. I don't approve of any form of war. But this war is not what the press or the politicians want you to believe. It's about something else. Anyhow, having said that, Mercury retrograde is exactly conjunct Sedna, creation through dissection. And of course, the sun was crossing over them in these past couple of days. And you also have an exact conjunction between Ceres, the nurturing principle, and Black Moon Lilith, the creator goddess, the archetype that is rectifying what Yahweh misdid. Let's put it this way. So it's the last installment of the Lilith myths, the creator goddess returning to the Garden of Eden, helping Eve to get the knowledge she necessarily hasn't. Anyhow, so by tomorrow, by the May 5th, 25th, this is what we have. We have a trapeze at 3-4 degrees, which actually is 3-4 degrees were the main degrees for those trans-Neptunian objects in the COVID chart. So that is also quite interesting. So it's like picking up that energy. And actually the fear mongering already started. Didn't I tell you that they are not going to let us go? It's, it's really sad. We could live in peace. We could live in relative harmony. We could live in relative wealth. We have everything. And they are destroying this for us everywhere. I just read that 1/4 of English people are not able to heat their houses, and they need to think of either buying food or fuel. This is ridiculous. That you don't deserve this. Believe me, this is man-made. It's ridiculous. Anyhow, so let's take a look at this trapeze. You have the base is a quincunx between trans-Pluto and the triple conjunction, which again, the moon will get out of this by noon or by the evening for sure. But the Mars-Jupiter conjunction will be tighter and tighter in the upcoming days. The top, the stage is the Sun, Ceres, Black Moon Lilith semi-sextile. So that is where you get the highlight. And there are two inner squares. So the inside energy pattern of this trapeze is tight and disruptive with two squares. One is a cardinal square between Ceres, Lilith, and Mars, Jupiter, Moon. And the other one is between trans-Pluto and the Sun. So that is what gives you the inner tension. In the 25th chart, May 25th chart, again, this will happen tomorrow. but the main celestial objects are already there. So Jupiter has quite a few asteroids. Cybele, strong woman, the goddess energy. Thalia, playing theater. Okay, Gaia, Mother Earth. Arthur, the Night King, and Hestia, the priestess energy. On the sun, you have Sekhmet, who is the Egyptian lion goddess that you need to eat. She eats fire, of course. And Nestor is an interesting little asteroid. It denotes early Christians, not Judeo-Christians, but early true Christians who were, of course, persecuted and killed, and the whole movement was completely crushed. And on Trans-Pluto, you have the centaur Teros, who is hunting bears, but he doesn't kill them, but he takes them to his cave and tries to tame them. And Teros is the centaur describing a comment around how to tame your instinctual behavior, how to tame your animal side. And you have 3 asteroids: Valhalla, the place where the gods are, the whole of gods. Well, actually, the Davos forum is just happening, so they are trying to decide our fate there. Fortuna, fortune, and then Circe, we say Kirke, Circe, the sorceress. So that is happening in that trapeze. And here is the exact same Grand Cross, cardinal Grand Cross, and not the exact same T-square / karmic cage that we had on the 7th, because the karmic cage was there because of the nodal axis, but the nodal axis is now at 22 degrees, so it moved out of the square energy. Instead, we have Saturn still at its apex. In Taurus, we have more Somnus and Alicanto, which was there on the 7th already, conjunct the nodal axis. And actually, throughout April, it was there. In the opposite sign, in Scorpio, we have Deucalion and Karma. Karma is a centaur, an asteroid denoting karma, of course. And Deucalion is the centaur for survival. It denotes being chosen to survive. And at its apex, you have Saturn. So that's the T-square, the fixed T-square, and the exact same Grand Cross, cardinal Grand Cross is there, but we do have 2 asteroids involved, Isis with Hercules. So that is also there. Okay, and then if you complete this planetary picture with other celestial objects, traditional planets and celestial objects also at 25 degrees of the signs. You have, of course, Neptune in Pisces, and you have the Aries, Venus conjunction in Aries. So you have a tiny trapeze up here in one of the sides of the T-square. And here the stage is the Neptune and Aries Venus conjunction. This is the semi-sextile here, so that's the top of the trapeze, which is always the stage. So it helps us understand that this war is about money, it's about resources. The drastically altered outward circumstances occurred because the powers that be want to shake up the world. Okay, and Neptune means smokescreen, means something that is not exactly there. It means that the main press wants us to believe something which is not the truth. Hercules, one of the centaurs, again describes that truth and reality are not one and the same. You need to ponder, you need to research, you need to think in order to understand what is really going on. So that's it. Don't be fooled, don't be monkeyed, okay? Don't believe the monkey parade. This thing is not real, no matter how the fear mongering is going to boost it up. It's real, of course. I mean, I'm not saying again, the virus is real. It's just really, again, some other issue to throw us into turmoil, fear, insecurity, not that war is not enough, not that food shortage and housing and gas prices and things. I mean, the whole world is going to it's going to crash, really, because they are going to crash it. It's something like when you sit in a car and you decide to crash the car and you just go against a wall or a tree and you completely destroy your own car. That is what the leaders of our world are trying to do. They are crashing our world, and I think we shouldn't let it. It's up to us, believe me. Sorry, I couldn't tell you anything better, but I hope that with some of the centaurs and TNOs in this planetary picture, we can still do something. Be wise, be alert, and don't believe one thing what the media is telling you. Thank you for listening.